Hi, I'm Bailey Neal, and I'm going to be talking to you about the need that we saw for the people in Zimbabwe, as well as the educational aspect of it. So, about 11% of newborns in Zimbabwe have a low birth weight, and we discovered that this is largely due to the fact that there's a lack of sanitation. With the lack of sanitation comes disease, and it affects a large number of people, not just pregnant women, but as well as other people. And so this was something that we wanted to focus on. And what we learned was 40% of rural areas practice open defecation. So as you can imagine, that can cause a large spread of disease. If people are openly defecating, they could do it near a water source or near food. And this can just contaminate a lot of different things and spread the disease. We also learned that up to 60% of the people in Zimbabwe do not have improved bathroom facilities. So whether that be an outhouse or something a little bit better than an outhouse, 60% of people do not have it. So what we want to do is build outhouses because it can reduce the spread of diseases and increase the birth weights of the children. And one of the things that we did was when selecting a type of outhouse, we chose the compost outhouse. So what happens with that one is it creates compost, so that way it can be used as fertilizer, but it also does not use a lot of water. There's just a little bit of water to clean it out every so often. But there is issues with water in Zimbabwe right now. There's not a lot of it, and the water that they do have is contaminated. And so it's important that we chose an outhouse that would be very beneficial and have low maintenance. So with educating people, we are going to train them on how to use an outhouse. As you can imagine, 40% of rural areas openly defecate. Depending on how rural they are, they may have never seen a toilet, they may have never seen an outhouse, depending on where they're at. And so it may be an adjustment for them to have to sit on a toilet or to defecate differently than they have before. And so the training will come in and it'll teach them how to use it, but it'll also teach them how to keep themselves clean. We want to make sure that they are still keeping themselves as clean as possible so they're not spreading the diseases. One of the things that comes with the training will be maintenance of the outhouses. We'll have them help build them so they can gain that skill of learning how to build one. And that way they can keep up with the maintenance on it. And we also want to teach them the benefits of using this. We want to encourage them to use it regularly whenever they need to use the bathroom, and just teach them how it'll improve their health, it'll improve the health of the village, as long as they are continuously using it and preventing the spread of disease after using it by washing their hands, cleaning themselves up, and this will cause the birth weights to increase once we can reduce the spread of disease.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaylee Kidwell. Over the semester, I have been able to use what I've learned in this class to realize how privileged I am and to help others, especially my young women, show a little more gratitude for what we have been blessed with in our lives. I know with right around $100, we could reduce a mother's risk of contracting a diarrheal disease and give an unborn child a better chance at life. Here is how we can do it. This is what an arborloo looks like. It is defined as a single pit compost toilet. While there are many different types and adaptations of the composting toilet, we are going to focus on a single pit latrine that has been used in other parts of Africa. In Zimbabwe, one of the main causes of low birth weights are specifically diseases caused by poor sanitation. The idea behind the arborloo is that it will provide a safe place for the people of this area to urinate and defecate without the fear of contaminating their water or causing rampant disease. The first step is to build the latrine, which will be the small toilet that sits over the open pit. Since we are mainly focused on pregnant women, we believed this would be much easier than squatting or sitting over an open pit. This would cost about $66 total. Here's the supply list and costs. While the instructions may vary a little, the idea is to create a box about 18 inches off the ground with a toilet seat so it is comfortable to sit on. First, you cut the plywood to make the box, with the bottom left open, using screws and liquid nails to hold together. Then you cut a hole in the top to fit the toilet seat. You fasten the seat with the hardware it comes with to the box, making the entire top hinge up for cleaning purposes. As you can see from these pictures, once we have the latrine built, we can use materials found native to Africa to make sure that these latrines are private. The only thing we would need to build is the cement foundation it'll stand on. This is an example of the ring. It can be built with a $7 bag of cement mixed with the water and sand found in Zimbabwe and about $12 worth of bricks. Once the concrete has set and the pit inside has been dug about 2 feet deep, this is what the cement foundation ring should look like. In addition to the cement foundation ring, we can make a cement cover that has a small hole that will allow the waste to go into the ground. In order to build the cement top cover, we put down plastic in a ring made by bricks that is the same size as the cement foundation we just built. We can use an old bucket or anything handy to set the cement to create a hole in the middle. We used rebarb to reinforce the cement and allow it to set. Once finished, it can be placed over the foundation. It will look something like this. All that is left to do is place the small latrine over the cement and you have an arborloo with a slight modification. Now all you need to do is turn the waste into compost. And remember, these need to be built at least 50 feet away from a water source.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Like Kaylee, through this project and what I have learned this semester, I have become more grateful for the things the Lord has blessed me with in my life. I'm grateful to have running water with an indoor toilet to use. I'm grateful to have a grocery store just down the street to be able to buy clean and healthy food. I'm extremely grateful that because of these and many other blessings, I do not have to worry about my family or myself contracting diarrheal diseases which cause low birth weights in many of the children in Zimbabwe. Kaylee did a great job of explaining how an arborloo is built. I am going to now discuss how materials such as leaves and wood chips or ashes can be used to create compost out of the waste in the bucket. This compost can then be used to plant trees and vegetables for those in the surrounding area. First, I will discuss the materials needed. The materials are wood chips or ash, leaves, soil, waste, and a bucket or larger container with a lid. The bucket or container will be used to transfer the beginnings of the waste compost into so the composting process can continue. Most of these materials do not cost anything because they can be found in the surrounding areas. The only thing that may cost money is a transfer bucket or container. These can be found for a cheap price or even donated. Now that we have the materials, I will discuss the process of how to make the compost. Starting off with the empty bucket that is already in the arborloo, the individual using the toilet will need to place a little bit of soil and leaves at the bottom of the bucket so nothing sticks. After each use of the toilet, a small cup full of soil and wood chips or ashes should be added. This only needs to be done after solid waste deposit. Leaves should then be added every so often to help the compost along. Once the bucket is full, it will then need to be emptied and transferred to the other container to continue the composting process. Like in the bucket, leaves and soil need to be added in the bottom before the bucket from the arbaloo is dumped. This helps prevent sticking and will also start the composting process more quickly. After the contents of the bucket are placed into the new container, soil is placed on top and the container is closed with the lid. The container can continue to be filled when the bucket from the arbaloo is full. A few months later, the compost in the container will turn into humus, which can then be used to plant trees and vegetables. The process of using the arbaloo and making compost out of the waste will help prevent diarrheal diseases, which is one of the greatest causes of low birth weights of children in Zimbabwe. The most important thing it will do is create a safe distance from their water sources as well as a contained area for these individuals to use the bathroom. This will help their water sources to not be contaminated, lowering the risk of contracting these diseases. The compost will also help them grow their own food so they can eat healthier. This will then help the babies to receive the proper nutrients they need. All of this information will need to be explained to the individuals of Zimbabwe because there will be some cultural barriers. This will be discussed in the next section.
Village Low Birth Weight Prevention Team. Along with Bailey, Sarah, and Kaylee, I have hoped and worked toward a respectable and as a project team preventing low birth weight in children in Harare, Zimbabwe, Africa through sanitation will be difficult. We will face many barriers. Working to improve sanitation in Africa, many health volunteers have been attacked and even killed because the villages did not understand why the volunteers were visiting. Other communities have had wells and latrines built, only to have them removed and destroyed not long after. Some were not taken care of, others were never used. Community members may not know how or why to use the latrines. Latrines can be built to help with sanitation, but could also cause severe lack of sanitation. The time needed to allow the compost of the sewage to be safe is hard to measure. Some children may also become stuck in the latrines. When the structures break, community members will not know why or how to build the latrines. Germs from the latrines could cause infections, and villagers will not know how to wash their hands after using the outhouse. There are many challenges to overcome when dealing with the latrines in Harare. In order to solve the issue of physical safety, we will begin by getting permission from the chief as well as requesting armed guards from the community to oversee our project. With the permission of the village chief and the political support of the village, our project will be accepted more readily. Gaining trust will be requisite. Villagers and the village chief may not know or understand why we are there. They will not understand our titles. Building trust. We will gain trust by giving candy to the kids, treating the chief with great respect, following community laws, and presenting to them our idea. The presentation to the chief and village leaders will include many points as to why the latrines are an important component to the community. This presentation will be followed by discussion questions and the opportunity to fully understand one another. This firm foundation between the chief, villagers, and volunteers will strengthen the power of our relief efforts and give us the signal to begin. Communication will be vital. After this foundation is set, we'll direct the creation of a community latrine committee, with the chief overseeing their work. The townspeople will be allowed to communicate their ideas to this committee. After establishing the committee, responsibilities will be given. These responsibilities of the committee will include choosing latrine construction people, choosing latrine maintenance people, choosing latrine evaluators, and choosing latrine sanitizers. Assignments as needed will be given to each of these assigned village people. The habit of using the latrines will be built over time. First, a community leader will use the latrine for 3 weeks. After he has used the latrine, he will then teach 3 more families in the community why and how to use the latrines. These families will practice for 3 weeks, following which they will teach 3 more families. This pattern will continue until the entire community is taught. Some people will be too young for the latrines. Children less than 1 meter tall will use small bowls and cans for bathroom purposes, which they will dump into the latrines. These can then be washed, and children will be instructed to only use them for defecation. Latrine maintenance will be directed by the committee. The sanitation and soundness of the structures will be determined by the latrine evaluators. Each latrine will be sanitized and maintained according to the needs determined. The evaluator will be educated by the committee as to what requisites to check for. Germs will be a barrier in the compost. Latrine evaluators will need to determine whether the latrines are being wiped down, swept, aired out occasionally, and rotated according to the committee instructions. Compensation for work will be determined by the chief. Latrines will need to be clean. Soap will be encouraged to be used because lack of soap will cause germ spread. If leaders communicate that soap is expensive after an assessment of soap use is made, and out of budget for most families, the Hilton Hotel chain will be asked to donate 200 bars of soap to the project. A backup plan for soap donation will be an LDS Congregation soap drive in Thatcher and Queen Creek, Arizona. After resolving these concerns and others as they will arise, we will overcome the barriers that we face. We will be successful in completing our prevention and implementation of sanitization through latrine creation. These barriers will not be stumbling blocks, but challenges that will distinguish our determination and creativity. Sustainable